Hi friends! It's really good to see you. I'm Amy, this is A-Star Reads, and February has been a month. It's been a month, you know, and I'm gonna give myself a lot of leeway for February because it was my birthday month. It was fantastic. I received a lot of wonderful gifts from all of you, so thank you so much. Those will be included. I will share those in a video at some point. As you may have noticed, I didn't put out very many videos in February just because it got to be a lot. I was gone for a lot of the weekends because of birthday stuff, which was wonderful. Having people visit me was wonderful. Then also school was a lot. I'm coming up on my spring break, which is fantastic. I'm so happy about that. This next week is my last week of regular classes. Then this past week was the week that I was doing my teaching of my mini unit, and I was in the classroom full days every day. This whole process of learning how to be a teacher, but within the classroom, because, you know, I've been taking classes for a while, but like when you're actually in the classroom, it's just like learning how to drive a car. Your brain is going 20 million different places at once, and I think it's just gonna take me time to get used to that and my brain to like put certain things on autopilot, if that makes sense. So it was a rough month for that. A good month, like a really good month. So much learning happened. Amy is very excited about teaching, and I'm creating amazing relationships and connections with my students, like awesome. But my reading and booktube especially suffered for that. So I did read a little bit, but not a lot. I'm in the middle of a lot of books, which sometimes when you are reading too many books at once, it feels like you're never finishing anything. And that's kind of how February felt for me. Plus, I couldn't even contemplate editing. When I'd get home at night, I would just be like, I gotta watch Grey's Anatomy or something else. Just relax, because my brain was so exhausted all the time. So, with all that being said, I'm here. I'm excited for March because I have 2 full weeks when I'm not in school that I want to do some reading. And then the first week of school is never usually that bad, so the end of March should be pretty good for reading as well. As far as editing goes, I'm hoping I can get some of my content out to you because I have a lot of things in the progress and a lot of things that are way past due. And we're going to go into March and hopefully April with a much stronger focus on my reading and my content, and hopefully everything will just come together and, you know, like this has all got to work together. I can do my schooling, I can do my teaching, and also be a booktuber because I really love both. So today we're going to be doing the game of bookish life for March and April. As I had mentioned before, I'm doing 2 months at a time because I want more freedom to do some of the themed TBRs that I was hoping to do. But I had decided when I first was thinking about what kind of TBR game I would want to play that I would use the game of life because it was my favorite childhood game. So I have all the rules and all the changes that have happened over the years in a video that I created in January. I will link that up here so you can go check out all the nuanced details because my game has a lot of elements to it. It can get kind of complicated. So if you would like to know all the specific rules, check out that video. But before I get to that, I had said that I wanted to get more books off my physical TBR, and one way I was going to do that was to use this amazing physical TBR spinner wheel that I created that has all the books on my physical TBR on it. And I spun it twice in January. The first one that I had spun was Hesiod, I think that's how you pronounce it actually, Hesiod's Works and Days and Theogony. And I hadn't finished this in February, so I didn't do any more spins in place of this book, but I have finished it now. So I will be doing 1 spin to replace this one off of my physical TBR. And then I had spun Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. And I said, oh, in February I'll get to this. And so I didn't end up doing any more spins in February, but I still haven't read this one yet. So I'm only gonna do 1 spin on my physical TBR wheel, and that will add a second book of the books that I wanna read. And then this is gonna be carried over to March. And I am planning on getting to this in March. We will see if it happens. So let's check out the spinner wheel. And I ended up with The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan. I'm a little nervous about this one. I'll be honest, I got this from a subscription box. It must have been Alcrate, the Alcrate YA box. And I think this is the most beautiful cover. When this first came out, I thought it was stunning. I was so excited about it because it is sci-fi. This is dystopian. I love sci-fi. I then started hearing a lot of mixed thoughts. mostly negative, actually. Mostly negative thoughts on this book, and I will be curious to see what I think, because sometimes I like the books that not everybody else likes. So The Ones We're Meant to Find by Joan He is about these two twin sisters. One sister gets stranded on an island somehow. Sure, she gets left on an island, and she has had most of her memories wiped, except that she knows she has a twin sister off somewhere else. And I think there's like an AI that's left there on the island with her. But she is trying to figure out how to get across the water, get across the ocean to get to her twin sister. And then I don't know much about the twin sister, but she's living in an eco-city is what they call it, the last unpolluted habitat. So I am nervously excited to read this. Excited to read it just because I want to see if it really is as difficult to read as people make it out to be, but also excited because it is a genre I enjoy, and I'm curious if I'm gonna end up liking it. And also, this book is just stunning. So if you take off the dust jacket, you've got this beautiful, beautiful cover, and the, what do you call these? The end pages are gorgeous. They're just gorgeous. I think this is such a beautiful book, and I got a message from the author because this was an L crate. That must be one of the eco cities. So it's just such a beautiful book and a very interesting idea that I'm hoping I enjoy it and don't feel the way that other booktubers have felt, the way that I've heard other reviews go. So these are both my spinner wheel picks, and ideally I will get both of these books from my physical TBR read in March, and then in April I can pick 2 more. Ideally. If not, I'll be rolling them over. Because that seems to be the way it's working. But at least I'm getting through books, especially like this one, that has been on my TBR for a very long time. And because they haven't been on my radar, they just sit on my shelves. So I'm very happy to be working through some of these older books that have just been sitting there. And they're sad. They want to be read. They want to be loved. And maybe I'll be the one to love them. Now let's recap what happened in January and February, and did I read the books from the Game of a Bookish Life? Will I be taking punishments? Yes, I will be taking punishments. I have to say right now, though, that I am only taking 2 punishments. I should technically, based off my rules, be taking more, but I'm not going to, because I have started some of these books. I'm going to get them finished. They're not going to go back on my shelves. They have to be finished. And February was such a difficult month that I'm not going to make things harder for myself at the moment. And punishments for me aren't so bad. They're just me going back on the board. They're not horrible. And plus I have to use my challenge spots. So like wherever I land on a green spot, I have to choose the challenge option versus the nicer option. So it's not horrible, but I know how my February was, and I think I did the best I could possibly do in that month. So I'm not gonna take more than 2 punishments. My first spin was Guilty Pleasures by Laurel K. Hamilton, and I did read this. Yay! The second spin I did, I don't have that book, it's in my room, and I'm not gonna run and get it. It is Inkheart by Cornelia Funk, and I did not finish this one. I am going to be taking a punishment for this one. I did start it, but I only got like an 1/8 of the way through it, and pretty early on in that book, and I just don't see myself continuing at the moment. I was really enjoying it though. Like from the very beginning, I've been enjoying the writing style a lot. So, you know, I do want to work this one back on my TBR at some point. It's just not going to be in the next couple of months. Book number 3, The Little Prince. I did end up reading this one, and I have since unhauled it. Book number 4, You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. I did not get to this one, and this is the second one I'll be taking a punishment for. Book number 5, my secret TBR book. I would have liked to have told you what that was, but because I haven't completely finished the final book for that vlog, I'm not going to tell you that. But I did finish my secret TBR book. Completed it. Feels good. I'm so close. I'm so close. Spin number 6 is Love in the Time of Cholera by Gabriel Garcia Marquez. I have not finished this, but I'm currently on page 278. I'm very close to the end, and I'm going to finish this soon. And finally, spin number 7 was Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. I'm currently on page 156. I have to have this one finished to do my paper on it, which is due Tuesday. So this weekend will be spent reading Braiding Sweetgrass, and I'm going to make a very significant dent on this. I have to say, if you are wanting to read this book, listen to the audiobook. It's very relaxing. Mom actually loved it, but was falling asleep during it because we read it to and from Seattle when we were visiting Chelle and Nathaniel. And Robin Mulcamer's voice is very soothing, very relaxing, and it was wonderful. But I'm back to physically reading it because I want to make sure I get this one done and get my paper written for school. So that I'm not counting as a punishment because I will finish it very soon. I'm thinking that March and April are going to be much better. So fingers crossed that I'm right. Let's go check out what's happening with my spin tally and what I'm going to get for spin number 1.
So last time I played, way back when, I ended up on TBR Game, and that's where I'll be starting out. As I mentioned already, I'm going to be taking 2 punishments, and that means I'll be going backwards for the first 2 rolls, and then I'll continue forward movement after that. Also, that puts my game in challenge mode, so anytime I land on the green spots, I have to take the challenge mode option. Okay, let's talk about my spin tallies, and it doesn't look so bad. I have 3 tallies on both number 4 and number 6, and then I've got 2 tallies each on 1, 3, 8, and 9, and 10, and 1 tally on 7. So not looking too bad this time around, but you know, you never know. You never know with the spinner. Okay, so let's see how far backwards I'm going to go for spin number 1. 8. Okay, that's further than I wanted to go backwards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Diversity wheel spinner. That's always easy. Okay, so this means that I will spin this wheel again, and since it has a D on here, I will pick the diversity option of whatever color comes up. Yellow. Indigenous Author. Perfect.
Okay, so diversity spinner wheel was spin number 1, and I got Indigenous Author for this one. This is the only one where I'm going to be leaving it open. And the reason I'm leaving it open is because I don't think I'll be getting to this book in March. I think I'm going to wait until April. And that's because in April I'm doing the Aurelium, spring equinox, and I want to leave my options open because there's always prompts, and I have quite a few Indigenous authored books. They're different types, like I have middle grade, I have YA, I have high fantasy Black Sun. I will be doing an April TBR, and at that point I will tell you what book I'm going to be picking because I'll be establishing my TBR for the spring equinox.
Okay, and I've got one more backwards movement, so let's see where I'm going to go for spin number 2. 7. Oh, come on. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A book card. Okay, those are always fun. We're gonna go with this one. Oops, they're all trying to fall out. Oh, that's appropriate. It's a book that's unread from a previous TBR.
Spin number 2. And if there wasn't a more appropriate prompt for me, I got a book card, and for that I got an unread book from a previous TBR. And one of them is Percy Jackson's The Lightning Thief by Riordan. I did start this a while ago, and I could tell right away that I really loved the writing style. But then things happened and it didn't get read. So this is about a young boy named Percy Jackson, and he gets kicked out of his schools a lot. Not a bad kid, but he ends up in a lot of situations that are causing problems. And so it turns out he's a demigod. So he gets sent to this place called Camp Half-Blood, and somehow it seems he's the cause of Zeus's lightning bolts getting stolen. So he and his friends need to figure out who did this, who was the thief of the lightning bolts, to save the day. I'm just really looking forward to this one and hopefully enjoying it as much as a lot of other people have enjoyed it.
Okay, now it's time to see how far I can make it back to where I started. Let's see where I'm going to go for spin number 3. Oh, does that count even though it jumped? I think it counts, right? Yeah, it counts because it's still spun. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Genre spinner.
I just realized I breezed on past that stop sign, didn't I? Well, considering I'm so late in getting my TBR video up, let's just pretend like we didn't see that. Please.
I got the genre spinner wheel, and whatever color it lands on when I spin again, that will be the genre that I have to pick for a book. These ones are nice and easy because they give me a little bit more flexibility. Orange. Orange is adult fantasy. Woohoo! Oh, that works out perfectly. Oh, I'm excited about that. Okay, good.
the game is like really going easy on me this month. Spin number 3, a genre spinner wheel, adult fantasy. So this is really easy because I felt that it was time to finally pick up the next Robin Hobb book. I'm so excited about this. It's the Tawny Man trilogy. Even though this is a trilogy in its own right, I think it's very helpful to start with the very first book, Assassin's Apprentice, because that's where we first get to know Fitz and the Fool and the different people within this world. And all of these trilogies, and well, there's one that has 4 in it, all of these series are really dependent on the other ones. They have a lot of information that lead into the next series of books. So I recommend checking out that first book, Assassin's Apprentice. And that is about Fitz Chivalry, who is the bastard son of who is supposed to be the next king. And this puts Fitz in a very difficult position because he's hated by many and he could cause a lot of problems for the kingdom. His grandfather, the current king, decides to make him an assassin for the king. And so that way he won't get any big ideas about going off and creating trouble. And ideally, it'll also afford him a bit of protection as well. If we've read the series, we know that poor Fitz has had to overcome a lot. And one of my absolute favorite characters is the Fool. And so we're coming back to Fitz and the Fool, I think 30 years after the original series.
All right, let's see where I'm gonna go for spin number 4. So far, I'm doing okay. 10! Yes! Oh, that's a secret TBR book. Yeah, and that's gonna bring me back to here. 3, 4, 5, 6. Actually, yeah. You know what? Never mind. It's not a secret TBR book because any stop sign trumps any numbers that are on here. So it's gonna be a TBR game book, but that's okay. I'm excited. Okay, we're back to where we started. At least we're getting these bigger numbers.
Okay, so TBR game. I was a little like, we're back here again. But then I thought about one of the readathons that I was not going to be able to participate in this month because I was trying to cut back on my readathons this month. And you'll see later that that didn't actually happen very well. Since I landed on this, I was like, well, Roll of Reads is happening. Mel from A Booked Fiend Named Mel is hosting this readathon the whole month of March. And I'm just excited to be able to participate in a small way, which means that I'm going to take one of Mel's prompts that she picked because I didn't have time to recreate the board, so I figured I'll just look at Mel's TBR board and pick one of her prompts and use that to pick one of my books. So I'm going to link Mel's TBR video and her announcement video down in the description box below. Go check it out. And I chose
an 8. Oh, okay. It's a thief. Roll number 4, I landed on the number 8, and for this one I picked up Thief. So this is another character class card, and for this I need to read a book that features an unlawful or morally grey character.
I ended up going with the unlawful element of this more though because I'm picking The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon, and our main character Paige is a dreamwalker. She's clairvoyant, and being clairvoyant in this world is illegal. In fact, nobody can know that you're clairvoyant or else you're imprisoned or killed or I don't know what, but it's not good. Don't let people know. So she is doing a lot of things within the world that she lives in to try and make things better, help other clairvoyants. All the things she's doing are illegal because clairvoyants are illegal in general. I read The Pale Dreamer, which was a little prequel novella, and it just like whetted the appetite, made me so excited for this series. I have a feeling I'm gonna love it. I really think I'm gonna love it. I love the concept and the ideas, and the action was a lot of fun in that one. So I'm just looking forward to The Bone Season. Let's get this started. Let's get this started. I'm so excited. But yeah, she's an unlawful character. So that's why I went for this one.
All right, for spin number 5, if I land on a 1 or a 10, I'm stuck at TBR game again. I have to redo that prompt one more time. If not, I get to move forward. Fingers crossed I get to move forward. I need to make some forward progress. No. Well, I guess I'm playing 2 rounds.
Spin number 5, another chance to play Roll of Reads. So I went again to Mel's TBR and I picked...
Phew! 11. And that is a cleric. I got a cleric. So this prompt means that I need to read a book that features religion or mythology.
So for this one, I'm going with Wicked Fox by Kat Cho because this is based on Korean mythology and I need to not have to carry this one over for another month. So if I make this a priority, if I put it in my game, hopefully I will not put it off over and over and over again. Plus, like, it's YA fantasy. These are books that I love to read and they're a lot of fun and they're easy. So why do I keep sitting on this one?
Roll number 6. We're looking pretty good. Let's see where I'm gonna go. 9. I'm rolling the same numbers. Okay. 9 is still safe though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Diversity spinner wheel, another one. Okay. Let's see what diversity representation I'm gonna get. 7. Dark blue is Europe or Australian representation. So basically a book set in anywhere in Europe or Australia, written by an author that's either from a European country or from Australia, or has a main character who's from a European country or Australia.
I guess it felt bad for me for February. It was just like, your February was rough, Amy. Let's give you a better time in March and April. So for spin number 6, it was a diversity spinner wheel. And for that, I got Europe or Australian rep. So for this, I actually got a message from Kim from Expedition Through Pages a couple weeks ago asking if it would be okay for her to pick a book for her TBR that we had kind of said we wanted a buddy read together. And that is Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier. Look at this copy. It's the 80th anniversary edition. And when I first saw this edition a while ago, I fell absolutely in love with it. You know what's even cooler? Like, obviously this is gorgeous, but the book itself is red. It's stunning. Look at that. I just love this. I love everything about this. So this is actually going to be a reread for me because I have read and given this book 5 stars in the past. I absolutely loved it when I first read it. I have been finding that rereads this year have been working really well for me. I reread a couple books in January, I reread a book in February. Rereads are doing it for me. I'm enjoying myself, especially at a time when I think I've been very stressed out and using my brain to its full capacity with school. Rereads have felt comforting. And this is about our main protagonist. She is young and she is a hired companion for this very rich older woman. While they're in Southern Europe, our protagonist meets Maxim de Winter, who is a recent widower, and they fall madly in love and they're having this amazing romantic honeymoon. But when they turn to his estate Manderley in England, she cannot get away from the legacy of his wife, and it just takes over. And there's a bit of a mystery involved. So I love Gothic novels, and I'm wondering if that's why I love this book so much, is because typically Gothic novels just hit all the things I need them to hit. And I remember just absolutely being in love with this one. So I hope that I feel the same way about it upon a reread. I'm excited to read this with Kim. We're still working on Anna Karenina. And we may be working on that to the rest of our days. And at least that gives us an opportunity to keep talking about books together. So we'll see if we ever get done with Anna Karenina and Rebecca. So that's it for my actual spins for my Book of a Gamish Life TBR. I hopefully will get all of these completed by the end of April. You'll find out when my May TBR comes out. But I will have an April TBR, but it's not going to include spins for myself. It'll include the viewer prompt, it'll include Magda spins, and in that I'll be talking about what's going to happen in April. And I will also update you what I will pick for my spin number 1, my Indigenous Author book. So for my buddy reads, I'm going to be reading Fool's Errand, and this one's going to be done with Magda, Chelle, and my mom. I'm so excited about this. I know that it's taking us a long time to get to the series. It doesn't bother me, because I'm a slow reader anyways. I am especially excited to get back to Fitz and the Fool. It's funny because, like, I liked the Farseer trilogy a lot. I really, really enjoyed it. But I loved the Live Ship Traders more. As far as each individual book, I really enjoyed a lot more than the original trilogy. However, I was realizing how much I missed Fitz and the Fool. Like, I missed these characters. I missed this original storyline. And so I'm, like, surprisingly super excited to get back to this part of the Realm of the Elderlings. This one it's over 600 pages, so that's going to be a bit of a hefty book. However, because I have 2 weeks off, I'm hoping to make a dent in March. If not, I'll continue this on into April, but I have 2 months to read it. So I will get Fool's Errand done in the next 2 months. I also already mentioned that I'm going to be buddy reading Rebecca by Daphne du Maurier with Kim from Expedition Through Pages, and I also need to try and continue finishing off Anna Karenina with her. It's not a joke at this point, but it feels like it, because my buddy reads have just they've just been slow going. And then finally for Bookstar Read-Alongs, which is a read-along group hosted by Paige from Page of the Page, Danielle from Bookara, and myself, we are going to be reading The Bone Season. We read the prequel first, The Pale Dreamer, but we're going to be starting the #1 book, first book. I just cannot wait. So if you want to know more about our read-along group and you want to join us, there's plenty of time. Please come join us. I will link everything you need to know down in the description box below, as well as check out the announcement video up here that talks about our read-along for the year of 2023. We also are going to be having some side quests this year. So if you're interested in reading Strange Case of the Alchemist's Daughter series later on in the year, we're going to be doing a little side quest for that. And we tend to have side quests whenever people want to read similar series together. Come, join Bookstar Read-Alongs, join our Discord, and chat with us. We love hearing what you have to say about these different books. I participate in a lot of challenges each month. I think I like things very structured. That must be it. I don't always get to everything and I don't always complete these challenges, but at least they give me a little bit of guidance as to what I want to do with my reading. The first challenge that I try to participate in every month is Buzzwordathon. This is created by Kayla from Books and Lala, and for March, the challenge is to read a book that has secret in the title. So I'm going to be reading The Secret of Platform 13 by Eva Ibbotson. It's just cute. It's a little scholastic book. I got this from one of my subscribers, Brittany, who does an unhaul every once in a while and then sends me a bunch of books. And underneath this platform, there is a portal, I guess, to a secret island world. And here's our little secret island, I'm guessing. There's a prince on this island, a young prince, who gets kidnapped by someone. Mrs. Trottle? Mrs. Trottle kidnaps the young prince off the island, and this unlikely group of 4, I think these 4, come together to try and rescue this prince. And so it just sounds like a fun middle grade book. Plus, I'm around kids that are reading middle grade books all the time now, so it's been making me want to read a lot more middle grade. I'm like, oh, I want to talk to them about books. So this is not anything that I've seen any of them read, but it just is a book off my shelf and it has the word secret in it. The next challenge that I typically like to participate in every month is TBR Knockout. This is hosted by Melanie from Completely Melanie. And the intention of this is to get as many of the physical books off your TBR. I think that ebooks work as well as you possibly can. So there's prompts each month, 2 prompts each month that help you get through your physical books. So for the month of March, it's Women's History Month. And the first prompt is to read a book that has something to do with women's rights. So for this one, I'm going with Untamed by Glennon Doyle. And this is a memoir that is about Glennon Doyle's life, but it also has a lot of women's rights undertones because it talks a lot about how women are viewed in society, how we view ourselves because of the way society treats us, and trying to work through that and try to not judge yourself based off what society expects of you or what is expected of you as a mother or a wife or a woman. And at one point I had a therapist that told me that I should read this book, I think based on the expectations I place on myself, and they thought that this would be a good choice for me to read because I think that they had recently read it and just really enjoyed it. So I'm gonna read this, I'm gonna check it out. I really love the cover. I think it's such a beautiful cover and I'm looking forward to this. I've heard a lot of people say really good things about it, so we'll see what I think of Glennon Doyle's memoir. The second prompt is a book with a strong female lead, and for this I chose The Bone Season because Paige, our clairvoyant, the Dreamwalker, she is a very strong character. Just from the first book that I had read, the little prequel, I could tell that she's going to be a very strong character, both in her magic, but then also as a person. Then there's the Book Covered Book Club. This is hosted by Caitlin E. from the Lit Review, and this is sort of like a challenge similar to the Buzzwordathon where there is a theme or an idea each month, but in this case, it's based off things on book covers. And I wasn't able to do last month because it was something that had a periwinkle cover and I just didn't have any books that I was going to be reading in February with a periwinkle cover. In March, it's a book that has birds on the cover. And this may seem like a cheat to you, but it's not a cheat to me. There are some birds on the cover of Fool's Errand. They're very small, but they are birds. I don't think I had any other birds on other book covers, so this is gonna be my choice. Then Whitney from Tibra's Den hosts Genreathon, which she started this year. And for her, it was the intention to read more genres or subgenres that she doesn't typically read. So for March, she's calling it MM March, and this is manga or memoir March. And so you pick one or the other. In my case, I'm picking both because I'm reading Untamed by Glennon Doyle, so this is my memoir that I'll be reading. And then I'm also going to be picking up Fruits Basket Collector's Edition Volume 7. I am working on this series and eventually I will get through it. I want to be able to finish watching the show as well. So it's time to get back to it. And this is by Natsuki Takaya. I wasn't quite as crazy of the last book as I wanted to be. So I think that mentally I kind of put it away for a little while, but I'm ready to get back to it. Then another challenge. And this is more of a book club sort of thing. My friend Christine from An Autistic Reader has a Discord group where they read different books by autistic authors or just with a theme of autism. So it's called Autism Reads. I will link the Discord down below. Check it out. The March book is called On the Edge of Gone by Corinne Duivis. Duivis? I don't know how to pronounce that last name, but here's the book cover. And this is a YA sci-fi dystopian. Our main character does have autism, and in this instance, she has a sister and a mother, and there's a comet that's coming to Earth that's going to destroy everything, or at least cause the world to change. And her and her family are assigned to a specific shelter place that they're supposed to go and hide and wait out this big comet disaster. And when they're supposed to be going and getting to this shelter place that they're supposed to be staying, her sister goes missing and she has to find her sister. And in the process of trying to find her sister, dealing with her mother, who has always been a difficult person to deal with, an opportunity arises that would actually allow her to leave the planet. And it would mean, I think, having to leave her family. So she has to come to terms with what this opportunity is, will she be able to take it, and what will it mean with leaving her family behind. Then we got my scratch board, and in February I was supposed to read Hamlet. I did not. So Hamlet is still on here. It did not get scratched off, and I'm not gonna worry about that right now. However, for the month of March, I am reading Percy Jackson, the Lightning Thief, and on here you'll see that we have our friend, Percy Jackson. So once I finish this, I will be able to scratch that one off my board, and I'll be that much closer to scratching off all the books on the scratch board. So I'm continuing on with my challenge of trying to scratch off one book from my scratch board every month. Let's hope it happens in March. And then of course, one of my other goals for the year was to read more books that have been gifted to me. So Fool's Errand was gifted to me by my friend Chelle. As I had mentioned before, Wicked Fox was a gift for my mom, but also for me, from Danielle from Bookara. And Paige from Pages with Paige got me the Bone Season. And finally, The Secret of Platform 13 came from Brittany. And so I've got plenty of books on my TBR that were gifted, so I feel good about that goal, feel good about going in the right direction with that. Before we go into the readathons, because yes, I am participating in readathons in March, even though I wasn't going to, let's go ahead and check out the viewer prompt and see what's going to happen in the next step of your journey on the game of a bookish life.
All right, now it's time for the viewer prompt. And when we last left you, you were here at cover, color, spin. So basically that was the color that needed to be on the front of your book. So let's see where you're going to go this month for your adventure on the game of a bookish life with our next spin. 10. Oh, you're going far. Okay. So I think we're gonna get stuck up here at this crossroads. So let's first see if we're gonna be going to the left, which is 1 through 5, or to the right, which is 6 through 10. So we're going 10 spaces. Don't want to forget that. Okay, we're gonna be going to the right. Okay, so 10 spaces. Let's see how far you're gonna get. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Seen on TV or in a movie. Oh, that's a fun one. Okay.
Okay, so that's really fun. I like it. And I want to give the suggestion of checking out the Rory Gilmore reading challenge, because this has all the books that were either mentioned and or were displayed in the Gilmore Girls series. It's an easy way to find a book that you might want to read for this particular prompt. I will say that I want to recommend The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafon. Amanda from the Reading and the Writing Life had sent me a message asking me what the prompt was, because, you know, I'm far behind on getting my TBR up. And she had been wanting to read this book anyways, because it's a book that I loved, and I think there's other reasons why she wanted to pick it up, but it is one of my favorite books. And she was like, is that recommended in any movie or TV show, this particular book? And I said, I don't know. But I gave her the Gilmore Girls reading challenge, and she went through it, and she says, The Shadow of the Wind is on there. And I was like, perfect. So this was mentioned or showcased somehow in the Gilmore Girls series. So if you are interested in reading The Shadow of the Wind, I recommend this because obviously I'm a bit biased. I absolutely love this book. I reread it last year and it was just as wonderful. I loved it just as much as the first time when I read it. To me, it's a great modern Gothic novel and it was on the Gilmore Girls. So now let's talk about those readathons. As you saw during my spins, I'm going to be participating in the role of Reed's readathon with the book Wicked Fox and the book Bone Season. So as long as I read those 2 books this month, I will have completed that particular readathon. And then for middle grade March, I wasn't really planning on participating in middle grade March this month, not intentionally, but when I was watching Krista from Books and Jam's TBR video for her middle grade March TBR, I noticed that she had Percy Jackson on there, and I'm planning on reading Percy Jackson anyways. I thought that was more YA, but I guess it could maybe be like middle grade YA, one of those books that sort of, I mean, he's a young kid, so it must be technically middle grade, right? And so she's counting it for middle grade, so I'm going to count it for middle grade and be reading The Lightning Thief for middle grade March. Also, I am going to be reading The Secret of Platform 13. This is very much a middle grade book. And so these are my 2 for middle grade March. I will link Krista's announcement video in the description box below, or any information that she has. She also has a great recommendation video that I just saw come out for recommendations for middle grade March. So I will link that up here so you can go check that out. Next, we've got Squash That Series, which is a readathon that I'm trying to participate in every time it comes out when I can, because it's a readathon where you get to read or continue on in a series. And this is hosted by Bailey from Is Bailey Reading and Kayla from Kayla Ray Reads. And I'm excited because this one is a 1-week readathon, which it feels doable. It feels doable right now. And that's from March 19th through March 25th. And the intention of this one is to reach 20 points by reading your books that are in longer series. So I went through all of the many series that I have to read and picked out books that were further along in the series. And I don't have a ton that were too far along in the series, but you know, I tried. And except for one, these are all books that are not on this TBR. So I'm kind of hoping to do like a 48 and 72 hour readathon or something like that and try and read all of these during then and vlog that. Fingers crossed that I'm able to do that. So for my Squash That series, TBR, I've got Fruits Basket Collector's Edition Volume 7. That will give me 7 points on my way to 20 points. Whispers at Moonrise by CC Hunter. This is the 4th book in the Shadowfall series. This is a YA paranormal series that I started a long time ago. It's definitely not perfect, but I enjoyed what I've read so far, and this will be an easy book to get through pretty quickly. Then I want to read Come Tumbling Down by Shannon Maguire. This is the 5th book in the Wayward Children series. Absolutely have been loving this series. Wasn't as crazy about the 4th book. Didn't hate it, but it wasn't my favorite, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. So that'll give me 5 points. Then I've got Tokyo Ghoul Volume 5. I still haven't decided whether or not I want to DNF the series. It's just not my favorite. I'm not hating it. I'm not loving it. We'll see when it comes in at the library if it does, because it's on hold at the moment. At some point I may DNF this series, because it just doesn't capture me as much as I would like to. So that would give me 5 points. And then finally, what I'm very excited about, I'm gonna continue on my I Married a Lizard Man, I Married a Whatever series. There's probably a name for it. What is the name of that series? Oh, it's called the Prime Mating Agency series. And this is by Regine Abel. I'll be reading I Married a Merman, which is the 4th book in this series. Not most people's favorites, so it'll be interesting to see if I enjoy it or not, because this one I think is one of the lower rated ones, and it sounds like fun, but we'll see. I can't wait to continue on this series. I know that I'm coming up to a couple of really good books that were well loved in the series, and so I'm like, come on, let's make it through, let's make it through. And these just feel good, and they're just fun to read when I need a bit of like downtime. All things said, that's 25 points. So if one of these books don't work out, that's okay, because I have 5 extra points to kind of play around with. I'm excited about Squash That series. Check out the announcement video and everything you need to know down in the description box below. I ran out of time. Okay, when you see me next, it will be darker. I'll probably look different. And I will tell you about the final readathon then. Okay, so I finally made it back home and I'm ready to talk about Spring Into Reading-a-thon, also known as Season-a-thon. This is hosted by Mel from Completely Melanie, Kaylani from Kaylani Simply Me, and Clint from Reed's Readers. I do love this readathon and I usually try to participate in it every season. However, I was really attempting to not do any readathons in March. But because I'm doing these other ones Anyways, I figured I might as well look at the bingo board and see if the books that I have on my TBR work for Spring into Readathon. So I did, and they do. So I'm gonna put the bingo board up here. I'm going for a bingo right in the center, right along the middle. And the first prompt is self-care, and this is to spend a day taking care of yourself, doing self-care things. I can guarantee you that during my spring break, during the 2 weeks of March, I will spend at least one day doing some self-care things. I'd like to get my nails done. We found a place that we like that does massages for good prices, and I think that I've earned it after this term. So I will spend at least one day doing self-care in March. Then the second prompt to go right down the center is Prom Queen, and this is a popular book. So for that one, I'm gonna go with The Lightning Thief by Riordan because this is an incredibly popular book. Riordan always wins the Goodreads children's. He didn't this year. But when I look back at all the previous middle grade / children winners for Goodreads, he won all of them. So I don't know what happened this year, Rick, but somebody else won. And then the center spot is the group read. And I don't know if I'll get to this. I would really like to get to it. My intentions are there. I do have it. It's Love on the Brain by Ali Hazelwood. And it's another gifted book. This was gifted to me from Natalie from Nat Kat's Bookish Cafe. So I would love to get to this. I really loved Love Hypothesis. And actually Natalie got me that one too. So thank you, Natalie, for fueling my Ali Hazelwood addiction, I guess. Then we've got the prompt Spring Forward, and for this one it's a book that is a sequel. So I'm going with Fool's Errand because this series, the Tawny Man series, I would consider this series a sequel to the Farseer trilogy. Now this is the first in the Tawny Man series, but if we are looking at the whole realm of the Elderling series, this is the 7th book. So I think this one would count for a sequel. I think so. I'm counting it. And then finally, the last prompt, Love is in the Air. And this one's to read a book that has a romance in it or some kind of friendship relationship that's built in the book. And so for this one, I went with I Married a Merman by Regina Abel because I am planning on reading this for Squash That series. These are romance. These are wonderful, smutty monster romances. So that's mostly it for what I'm planning on for March. I will say that I do have a couple of secret TBR types of books that I want to read, one that I'm in the middle of and one that I want to do something else for. And so hopefully I can get to those. I would also like to read Briefly a Delicious Life by Nell Stevens. This is one of the ones I bought for my Christmas challenge thing that I did with my advent calendars. I've been really wanting to read this book for quite a while. I've heard a few really good reviews about this, and it just seems like a book I would absolutely enjoy. And it just so happens that the Shelf This Book Club is reading this for the month of March. Of all the books I need to read, this is the one I want to read the most. It's not even on my TBR. So if I can make this work, it's not a very long book. I think this wouldn't be too long of a read. If I can make this work, I'm going to try to because I am just so ready to get to this book. I'm ready. I want to get to this book. I'm excited that a group of people are reading it. These wonderful people. Shelf This Book Club is hosted by Bailey from Is Bailey Reading. And this month the book was chosen by Lizzie. I can't remember off the top of my head Lizzie's channel name. I will put that up here and I will also link it down in the description box below. So if you are interested in reading this book, come join the discussion. And I will link the Discord channel down below for Shelf This Book Club as well. I really hope I can get to this one. I just want to read this book. I just want to read it. Maybe I'll just forget the rest of my TBR and just read this one. No, I'll get to the other books. Anyways, let me know in the comment section down below, what book are you choosing for your viewer prompt? And if you've read any of the books that I'll be reading in March or hoping to read in March, what have you thought about them? Stay tuned for Magda Spins. They're coming up next. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you can see what happens in the month of March. And then April. Let's focus on March first. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you later. Bye.
All right, it's time for Magda Spins. So when we last left Magda, she was here on Amy's Choice, and her tallies look like this. She's got 4 tallies on number 1 and number 10, so those are danger zones. And then she's also got 3 tallies on 3 and 8 and 9. 2 tallies on 6, and then 1 tally each on 2 and 4. So there's a couple of spots there where you could be in danger. Magda does 5 spins each round, and we're gonna see where she goes with spin number 1. 3. 3 is, whoo, that gives you 4 tallies on 3. Okay. 1, 2, 3. A genre spinner wheel. That means I'm going to spin the wheel, whatever color it lands on. I'll use the genre that corresponds to that color. Purple. Oh, that's a classic. Oh no, sorry, Magda. Okay, let's see where she's going to go for spin number 2. That was kind of a weak spin, wasn't it? That gives you 4 tallies on number 8. Ooh-wee. Either it's going to be really rough this time around or it's going to be really rough next time around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Ooh, random number of pages between 2 and 600. Okay, that means I'll pick a random number generator, put 200 through 600 on there and see what she comes up with. And we got 431, which basically means you need to find a book that's as close to 431 pages as possible, Magda. Oh, and this also has an orange ring around it. So that means it's dependent on the actual genre. So in this case, you're going to need to pick a romance. So it needs to be a romance that's 431 pages long. That's going to be a little more tricky because romances aren't always that long. Okay, I adjusted the angle a little bit. We're going to go for spin number 3. Seven safe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A diversity spinner wheel. So I'm going to spin the spinner wheel, and whatever color it lands on will coincide with one of the diversity representations. Nice spin. Orange, that's a disability rep. So whatever book you want to pick that has disability rep of it. And that can include mental health representation as well. Getting close to the end, Magda. Let's see, we're going to go for spin number 4. 3. Okay. 3 is +1. Oh no. Yep, that had 5. That had 4 tallies on it. So now you've got 6 spins to do. Let's see. 1, 2, 3. Oh, it's Amy Choice. Amy Choice. Amy Choice. We gotta love our Amy Choice.
I was looking through Magda's books that she wants to read, books that have been recommended, and there's one that really stood out. And it's not a happy book. If you're interested in reading it, Magda, I'd like to recommend it because I think it's an incredible book. It is a very difficult book. The subject matter is really hard. And I imagine if I were to read it again, it'd be a lot harder even now because I'm becoming a teacher. One of the books that I really loved, that I gave 5 stars to, that you put on as a recommended book or a book you might be interested in reading, is We Need to Talk About Kevin by Lionel Shriver. The subject matter is not happy, it's horrifying, but it was so good. So Magda, if you are prepared for a harder book, I would recommend We Need to Talk About Kevin. If you're not prepared for a book like that, I'm going to suggest Silence of Bones by June Her because I noticed that was also on the list of books that have been recommended that you might be interested in reading. And I love Silence of Bones. I gave it 5 stars. I think June Her's writing is beautiful. I haven't read anything else by her yet, which I'm really I'm bummed about because I loved Silence of Bones so much. I don't know that everybody loved it quite as much as I did, but I thought it was fantastic and the writing style was stunning. So if you're interested in something it's still dark, but not quite as dark as We Need to Talk About Kevin, I recommend Silence of Bones.
We're gonna go for spin number 5. 2. 2 is safe. 2's safe. 2's fine. Not moving very far, are you? 1, 2. Oh, heads or tails? We're going to respin and then move forwards or backwards. So this one's actually not going to count for our tallies because we're going to be going again. But we need to figure out whether or not she's going to move forwards or backwards by using a little coin flip. Okay, I've got this coin that has smooth sailings, that's heads, and it's got rough seas, that's tails. Let's see if we're going to be moving forward or backwards. Forward is smooth sailing, backwards is rough seas. Smooth sailing, moving forward, Magda. Let's see, we're gonna go for your next spin. Okay, we're respinning for spin number 5. 1. I mean, you made a little bit of progress. Okay, 1, and that's a genre spinner wheel. So let's spin again and see where, oh, that was your 5th spin on 1. Oh my goodness, Magda, you're up to 7. You may end up finishing this game unless I keep rolling such small numbers. Oh, goodness. Okay, sorry. I didn't even realize that. Okay, so let's see what genre you're going to be doing for that one. You're going to be doing light green. That is YA other. So basically any YA book that's not a fantasy. Let's see, we're going to go with spin number 6. 7. 7 is safe. 7 is fine. You're good on 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. A random sentence generator. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's really interesting. That's hard. Okay, so basically how this one works is that there are random sentence generators as there are random everything else generators. And I'm going to pull up a random sentence generator and click it. And I got, this is a Japanese doll. Okay, so that's interesting. You could make it about a Japanese doll. It could be somewhere in Japan. It could be a translated work. It could be about toys even. It really can be anything that represents this is a Japanese doll, that particular sentence. That is a strange one, but that's your prompt. This is a Japanese doll. All right, let's see what we're gonna go for. Hopefully your final spin, spin number 7. 5. 5 is totally safe. You're totally fine on 5. Does that finish the game? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's it. That's the end of the game. I just realized I've been playing with the viewer. Oops, there's Magda. That's okay. You know what, Magda? The viewers are representing you this time. Okay, so we're here. If we spin a 1 through 5, now that we're at the end, you read the most anticipated book on your TBR. If we spin a 6 through 10, you're going to read a book that's recommended by the library. So let's first see what you're going to end up with. 1. Okay, most anticipated book from your TBR. So whatever book that you've recently put on your TBR that you're like, or even put it in the past, that you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait to read that, I need to read it, or it's the next in a series, so you're excited to get to the next one. Most anticipated book on your TBR. End of game! Fantastic, Magda. Great job.
Okay, so that wasn't so bad. I thought that was pretty darn good. And I'm excited to see what Magda ends up choosing. Once she posts her comment, I will pin it and you can come back and take a look at that. Otherwise, we'll see you later.